In July 2017, 20-year-old British model Chloe Ayling boarded a flight from London to Milan, Italy. She had been promised a professional photo shoot, another step in her growing career. For Chloe, this was supposed to be an exciting opportunity, but what awaited her in Milan was not glamour. It was a nightmare. The photo shoot was a trap. When Chloe arrived at a small studio near the city, the door opened and her world changed forever. Two men attacked her. She was grabbed, injected with ketamine, and lost consciousness almost immediately. When she woke up, she was stuffed inside a large duffel bag in the trunk of a car. She could barely breathe. Every bump in the road pressed her deeper into the cramped, suffocating space. The men drove her for hours into the Italian countryside, eventually arriving at a remote farmhouse in the small village of Borgio, near Turin. Inside the house, Chloe was chained to furniture, held captive by two brothers, Lukasz and Michal Herba. They told her she had been kidnapped by a group called the Black Death Organization, a so-called international human trafficking ring that specialized in abducting women, then auctioning them on the dark web. According to them, Chloe would be sold as a sex slave unless her agency or family paid a ransom of $300,000 in Bitcoin. The kidnappers threatened her, saying if anyone interfered, she would be killed and her body dissolved in acid. To add credibility to their threats, they showed her chilling proof-of-life photographs they planned to circulate online. But even in this terrifying situation, Chloe noticed something strange. Her captors weren't behaving like cold professional traffickers. They were disorganized, erratic, and sometimes oddly polite. This was the first clue that something about the Black Death story wasn't what it seemed.
For 6 days, Chloe Ayling remained in captivity. Her kidnappers kept her handcuffed, sometimes to furniture, sometimes to a wardrobe. They gave her food, water, and even allowed her to sleep in a bed. At one point, one of the brothers even cooked pasta for her. It was bizarre. One moment they would threaten her life, the next, they treated her almost like a guest. The brothers insisted they were only middlemen working for the Black Death group, claiming they had no choice but to carry out the orders. But Chloe wasn't convinced. During her captivity, they revealed disturbing details about their supposed organization, that hundreds of women had been kidnapped and sold before her, that she would be auctioned off to buyers in the Middle East, and that if anyone tried to rescue her, she would be killed instantly. But there was a strange twist. The older brother, Lukasz Herba, began to show Chloe an unusual amount of sympathy. He talked to her for hours, explaining his supposed reasons for the crime, from financial struggles to a bizarre obsession with her modeling photos. At one point, he even confessed he had fallen in love with her. On the 6th day of captivity, something completely unexpected happened. Lukasz decided to release her. He drove Chloe to the British consulate in Milan and left her outside the gates. Just like that, she was free. But her nightmare was far from over. When Chloe told the authorities what had happened, her story was met with suspicion. The details didn't sound right. Why would her kidnappers feed her? Why would they let her sleep in a bed? Why would they release her alive? And so, instead of being welcomed home as a victim, Chloe Ayling was accused of being a liar. The media coverage exploded. Headlines in the UK and Italy began to cast doubt on Chloe's story. Some journalists claimed the kidnapping had been staged as a publicity stunt. Others accused Chloe of being complicit in the plan. Social media turned against her. Strangers called her names, accused her of making it up for fame, and ridiculed her in comments and posts. It didn't help that her kidnappers also claimed the abduction was partly consensual. Lukasz insisted in court that Chloe had agreed to the plot and that she was trying to use it to boost her modeling career. But the truth was in the evidence. Italian police found ketamine traces in Chloe's system, confirming she had been drugged. They also discovered the duffel bag used to transport her, handcuffs, and other restraints inside the farmhouse. The proof-of-life photos matched the crime scene exactly. In 2018, Lukasz Herba was convicted of kidnapping and sentenced to 16 years in prison. His brother Mikhail was later extradited and also convicted. Still, despite the convictions, Chloe continued to face harassment and disbelief from the public. Her life had been turned upside down. She was kidnapped, traumatized, and then humiliated in the court of public opinion. Years later, Chloe admitted that the skepticism hurt more than the kidnapping itself. She once said, "It was harder to deal with people thinking I lied than it was to deal with being kidnapped." Her story shows how victims can be doubly punished, first by their attackers and then by society. By 2024, Chloe's ordeal returned to the spotlight with the release of a BBC drama miniseries titled Kidnapped, the Chloe Ayling story. The show attempted to portray her side of the story faithfully, shedding light on her trauma and the media circus that followed. For Chloe, this was a chance to reclaim her narrative. She began speaking out about her experience, explaining the psychological manipulation she endured, the fear of being trafficked, and the devastation of not being believed. Today, Chloe works to rebuild her life while raising awareness about the treatment of kidnapping survivors. She emphasizes that victims should never have to prove their trauma to a skeptical public. Her case remains one of the most bizarre abductions of the 21st century, a young woman kidnapped, threatened with sale on the dark web, and released by a captor who claimed to love her. It's a story of fear, survival, and betrayal, but it's also a story about how quickly society can turn on victims when their pain doesn't fit the narrative people expect. And that may be the darkest part of all. So the question remains: did Chloe Ayling survive one kidnapping? Or two? The first, at the hands of her abductors. The second, at the hands of the public who refused to believe her.